Welcome to the second episode of the Get to Know podcast as part of the Get to Know Boxing YouTube channel. We're joined by my second guest, Paul the Irish Drago McCullagh. Welcome to the show, Paul. I do appreciate you giving me a bit of your time tonight. How are you doing? I know you fought just over a week ago now. How are you feeling after that second victory of your career?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. It was a good enough fight for my second pro fight. Anthony Wheeler, he's been in with good opposition and he's been in with cruiserweights. I know it was his first contest at light heavy, so he was a strong lad, and it was good to actually learn from that fight. Going the distance, there's a few things I picked up that I can actually do myself, like box more and use my attributes to my advantage. Just fought a week ago and I'm back in the gym from Monday. Got a week off. I'm back running, back training, just keeping fit. So I'm pretty pleased with my performance. And I know there's things obviously to improve on always, but overall I'm happy with my second pro fight.
Yeah. I mean, like both fights, I think you've looked good. Like a lot of the time when people turn pro, the first few fights they might make quite a few mistakes. But for me, like you had the distance perfect. You were not just throwing to the head, you were throwing to the body as well, and not like really like overly loading up, just kind of looking for the shots and placing them. So yeah, I thought it was a really good performance, mate. Really good performance.
I appreciate it. I know I try to work the body and stuff. Obviously it works out with the later rounds, but Anthony was good at tucking up and staying in like a shell. So I just tried to sink any body shots in that I could, because I knew he was trying to drag me in. He was on the ropes. He was waiting for me to open up so he could counter me. So it was sort of for that I could only sneak him in whenever I thought I could set him up for some shots.
Yeah, I mean he'd fought in that Ultimate Boxer as well. I think he was in that the other year. So yeah, like you said, dropping down to light heavyweight, it was always going to be a durable opponent. I know you got the stoppage in your first fight, but kind of good to get the 4 rounds in the bag.
Yeah, it was good that I actually got to do the 4 rounds. I'm getting the rounds in. Like, it was good to get them in because I've knocking out all my opponents. Like, you're not going to learn as much as you would by going the distance. So, like, a few things that I learned that I picked up on myself. Being able to slow down with my jab, get a breather, being able to work my shots as well. So I learned a lot from it. So I did.
Yeah. Well, just going back a little bit to when you started boxing. Can you remember like what age you were when you started, and what was the thing about boxing that kind of drew you into the sport?
Yeah, well, like I started boxing, I think when I first went into the gym, I would have been around 9 or 10, and I had my first fight at 11. I can remember that like yesterday, because my name's McCullagh, and it was down on the sheet, Paul McCullagh versus Kevin McCullagh. So it was sort of like a same name sort of thing, and it was like a big thing for me, you know. So I can remember it really, really well. I'd done every sport under the sun, and I come out of football training, and it was with my father. And I asked him, I just got into conversation and I asked him, what did you do when you were younger and stuff? And then that's when he said to me that he was a boxer and that my whole family boxed. I didn't actually know. It was never spoke about. And then obviously whenever I mentioned about the boxing, that's when he said that. So I was intrigued from the get-go, and that's how it all started.
Yeah. And as an amateur, I think you won the Ulster light heavyweight
Ulster
title.
Elite Championships. That was the first ever competition elite that I trained for, and the first title that I wanted to get. And it was my first year fighting in them as well. So it was a big deal, because I know my grandfather was training me for that competition. From I was obviously a juvenile, that was my goal. And sadly, he passed away just before the championships, and I wasn't actually going to enter them, but from speaking with my family and stuff, and brought me around a bit, and I just decided that I would go in and I would win it for him, and it did. It felt like it was meant to be, because 40 years previous to that, my great uncle Frank McCullagh, was a light heavyweight fighter for Ulster and Ireland, and he had won the exact same trophy that I'd won. So I actually got to bring the same cup, the McLinton Cup, to his home for me and him to hold together. Like, it's crazy. 40 years on, it was the exact same trophy that he had held, and he had actually held it 4 times. He won them like 3 or 4 years in a row.
Yeah. That's crazy. How you said that you didn't even know your family box up until that age. I mean, starting at like training at 9, having your first fight at 11, you must have had. Are you 20 now? Is it 20?
Just turned 21, so I did in
Just turned 20.
November.
Okay, so you must have had quite a lot of fights in that period then.
Yeah, I can remember as a youngster, I only had a handful of fights because what happened was I was a novice and I had a few fights where I was told I was fighting against novices and they weren't. So I sort of got a bit of a sickener. And
Yeah.
then as I was getting older, I was only getting a handful of fights because I was always getting sick whenever I was a kid. And then I eventually grew into a heavyweight. I was 16 at 110 kilograms. So anytime I was getting a fight, I was winning, and then I was getting opponents pulled out. People were pulling out, and I couldn't get spars. So I've only had about, at the most, you would say 40 amateur fights, if
Right,
even.
okay. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
It must have been quite valuable, really, though, at sort of that age and getting them sort of mismatched fights in a way. It
Yeah,
must have been quite valuable to have that early on and kind of learn lessons that you might not have against people that were kind of on your level or below your
yeah,
level.
yeah.
Yeah, folks, from my understanding, you're training now with is it John O'Brien?
I
Training with?
was training with him previously in Lanzarote, but I left a few months ago to come home to train with my father again and my
Okay.
uncle Sean, because
Yeah.
before that I trained with my father always and my grandfather and my family, but I went away to Lanzarote
Nice.
only for a training camp at the beginning, and I was offered a good chance to go pro, so I decided to do that, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, things didn't work out for me at the end, and travelled back home. So I'm now back home training with my father and my uncle in my family's gym, McCullagh's Amateur Boxing Club.
All right, cool. They have their own boxing gym then.
Yeah, we just recently, it was established in 2020 in memory
Nice.
of my grandfather.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. That's good. I suppose you'd be helping out down there as well with the youngsters and
Yeah,
getting
yeah. At
involved.
the beginning, I was helping out whenever it was just getting up on their feet. I was just helping before my training. I was going down a bit early, an hour or two early, helping the kids, doing what I can, and then doing my own training.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, nice, nice. So you signed with MTK,
Yeah.
and obviously I've you managed by Dave Coldwell.
Mhm.
So how did that work? Were you with MTK first, and then they got you in touch with Coldwell, or was it the other way around?
No, I to be honest, I just it was left in the hands of my coaches and my coach and them, and then that was all sorted out through them. I would be telling fibs, I was just they done all the working out and stuff.
Okay, okay, cool. And with Dave Coldwell, how was your relationship with him? Do you speak to him regularly? Do you communicate with him?
Yeah, I speak to him from time to time. He's busy and I'm busy training, but anytime I'm having a query, like to ask him a question, I'll message him and
Yeah,
he'll get back to me or vice versa. He would just pop up every now and again and mess me, see how I'm doing, how training's going. I would like to personally meet him in person as well, but from now it's just a wee message here and there just to see how things are going for fight dates and stuff like that.
yeah. And obviously, when you turned pro, what was the sort of what was the idea of how fast you were going to move? Because like you said, you've had 40 amateur fights. You did win
Yeah.
the Ulster tournament. Was it kind of just start off and kind of build your way into the pros, or was it you want to move fast? What is the
Yeah.
kind of the
Well, now I'm 21 years of age, and I know that you have to. Obviously it's a different ball game, like a different sport between amateur and professional. So it obviously takes a while to build into it and to settle into it. No, we're not looking to rush quick because I'm still young. Still have to pick up experience,
yeah
and just take it each fade as it comes, and just see how I go on the journey.
yeah nice
And I'm
um
happy and modest and just as I'm going now, just taking it fight by fight, building in. I'm in no rush. I just want to keep improving as a fighter.
yeah, and like I was saying before, like in your first two performances as a professional, you can kind of see that you are very mature in the way you fight for your age.
Yeah,
um and obviously my personal opinion is that like I was saying before, you've got good distance. You are a heavy hitter. Like you definitely hit hard. And once the opponents kind of come to win, I feel like that power will will take its toll a little bit more. And
yeah.
only being 21, when you get to 24, 25, that's only going to increase, isn't it?
Yeah, like what you said, I totally agree with you, because whenever you're fighting, like the likes of my debut and my second fight, whenever you hit them, or whenever you're fighting against someone who doesn't really want to fight and they're in the survive, it's harder like to get that clean shot because they're always tucking up and stuff. So obviously whenever I'm boxing and someone's boxing and you can open up and you could get caught a clean shot, it shows more, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And what would you say that your strengths are if you were to assess your style and how you fight? What would you say your strengths are as a fighter?
Definitely my jab. And my second fight, it's the first I've used it in years. So I use it in sparring, but I wasn't bringing it into fights with me. And coming up in this training camp, I just had a totally different outlook on what I was doing. I think where I went wrong was I wasn't bringing what I was doing in sparring into the fights for years. And I just looked at it, okay, this is sparring, and I'm going to have a boxing fight. Instead, I was looking at it as a fight, going in and having a go, swinging and, fighting.
Yeah.
And something just clicked that says, you know what, I want to bring what I want to do in the sparring, in the fight. I would look at it, a boxing match. I'm going to go out here. I'm not sparring. I'm in a boxing match, and I'm going to do the same what I do in sparring in here, and be able to use it. And it actually worked for me. I was using my jab. I was keeping my distance, and I was bringing what I'd done in sparring into the fight. And it was actually really relaxed on the week of the fight. And I was so relaxed and calm. I had to keep reminding myself, you've got a boxing fight on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I was actually happy that I showed my strengths, my jab, my distance, being able to counter punch.
Yeah, 100%. And I think even when I've seen like the sort of feedback when I was watching the chat, like a lot of people were saying that for someone who's had only 2 fights, like you do the basics very well. Irish Drago, very standout name. I think he's so good that I'll have to put it on the title. I mean, I don't really normally do that. I just put the person's name, but I'm going to have to include that. Talk to me about that and how that came about.
Yeah, well, whenever I was fighting in the amateurs, I had a couple of big knockouts, and I fought for St. John Bosco, and their club colours was red and black, or black with red trim, and I was always into like an old school training, old school sort of style, and I used to wear the old school Bosco shorts, which is short shorts with black and red trim and a red vest. So whenever I got a knockout in the Ulster seniors, people says he looks like a young Dolph Lundgren. And I fought like him in the same sort of style. So I'd come on TV whenever it was televised, and it sort of stuck. And I just sort of decided like to go with it, but put the Irish on it because I'm Irish. And like what you said, it's a big standout name, and with pressure and all. But for some reason, I don't feel like I have that, because it's sort of so natural and I'm used to it. And it's a good name because it would draw attention.
Yeah, 100%. And like even for me, I can say that definitely it works in your favor. Do you know what I mean? Like when I first watched you on one of the, and you think it was your debut on that MTK show, I was like, Irish Drago, like what's all this about? So
for example, like I was out running the day, and I'd done a good run, I'd done a 6 mile, and it was obviously I was getting a wee bit tired, but I was all right because I'm still feeling fit. But I was just going to myself, I'm the Irish Drago. And then it was getting me going again faster, getting through it. Like, so sometimes I remind myself when I'm getting tired, you're the Irish Drago, and it gives me a bit of, push to get through.
Yeah. And even when you go in a ring, I can imagine like, it's like right now, I'm not Paul anymore. I'm now the Irish Drago when he's stepping there.
It's some buzz. Like the ring walks some buzz. So I can't wait for crowds to come back, because that'll just multiply by like 10, you know what I mean? Even just walking out with nobody there with a song on, it's a buzz. It's a good buzz.
Do you have like a good support like in your local area and stuff as well for when you do get crowds back?
I'm from I live around Belfast, BT17. It's a small neighbourhood. Everybody knows each other, and I'm well liked around my neighbourhood. And I've got a good support. Like I've got a big family. I've got a load of people around here that can't wait for me to box. Like I've got a good following, and it's only gonna increase whenever fights come here. Like you know, I've got a good support behind me.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to getting everybody out to watch a fight in Belfast.
Nice. Yeah, it'd be good to get crowds back and obviously get that experience, being that both your fights in the present time have just been behind closed doors, haven't they? So once you do get the crowds back, then it must be like almost starting your professional career again in a way. Do you know what I mean? With a different experience.
Like, again, it's like, it's going to be a bit of strange actually going back to normalization. You know, I can remember fighting in front of crowds, and it didn't really bother me. Like, whenever I had people in the crowd that I knew and I had a good crowd, it actually made me fight better. Like, it gave me that bit of an edge. So I think we're gonna have to get used to actually fighting the back of crowds again, because it's becoming so normal with nobody here.
Yeah, especially for everyone that's turned pro in this last year, 18 months as well.
Yeah,
it's going to be good, man. I'm excited to get crowds back. Do you know what I mean? Just for not just for the buzz of the night, but what's that? Sorry,
get people out for a night out. You know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not just the it's not just the atmosphere though. It's just like when you watch it on TV, I feel like it kind of adds to it as well, and just like the whole sort of energy around it. Fight week, having people at the press conference.
Yeah.
Like it's just that will
be a new experience for me too, because I sort of haven't really experienced that. I've experienced obviously going to the weigh-ins and getting photos, but it's going to be, like you said, starting all over again, like getting used to all those things.
Yeah, 100%. So if you could kind of plan out, I know you're taking it fight by fight at the moment and just kind of building that experience. There's no rush, but what do you have any sort of long-term goals of when you want to reach certain targets?
Well, like the way I look at it is I'm 21 now. By the time I'm 24, 25, 26, I would want to, you know, be a world champion, because this game doesn't last forever. You know what I mean? I want to do as much as I can in the sport and get out of it while I've still got my brains attached to me, you know, and I'm still functionable. So I would say around 24, 25, 26 years of age, I would want to accomplish being a world champion and achieving good things in boxing. And if that doesn't happen by that age or older, then it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I know we spoke about sort of before the interview started, but when do you think you'll be next out then?
Well, for my next fight,
yeah,
I'm hoping to get out in summertime. I would say that would be a realistic date. So I wouldn't say I'd be out in the next few weeks or so. I would say I would like to hope to be out in the summer, because I know that from my last fight to this second fight, I think it was about 6 months apart. So I would hope not to wait that long. I would hope for summer, because I think that there's some things happening then. So I would say then I would like to be out yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that sort of MTK have kind of teamed up with Top Rank as well, isn't it? And like the fighters are getting that exposure now over there in America. It's just like I think that's a really good thing, because the MTK shows, even though a lot of the time they're not like as sort of often as like a Sky or a Matchroom show or a BT show, it's just that quality of the people watching you and them getting them eyes over the other side of the pond.
Yeah, no, they're a big company, great exposure, and they're a good team to have, because they are making big fights and they will look after you. So I'm just hoping that they take a liking to me and my style, and we can work together and make big things happen.
So thank you for coming on. I do appreciate it. Thanks for giving me your time. If you do have any more fight news, any more dates, then just keep in touch, mate, and we'll jump back on. We'll talk about it.
No problem.
But yeah, 100%. I'm looking forward to seeing your journey, watching how you go, mate.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And obviously for giving me the opportunity to come on and speak on here too. So I'm grateful for that as well. And I hope everything goes well with your podcast and with your page. So thank you very much for the opportunity too. And if I do have anything coming up or whatever, I will give you a message.
Thank you everyone for watching the second episode of the podcast. I do appreciate you all tuning in. If you like this episode, make sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and stay locked right now to the channel. Thanks once again for my second guest, Paul the Irish Drago McCullagh. I'm looking forward to seeing his journey.